Hold up. Give me 1 second. All right. Welcome to episode 128 of the Hurricane Mike Show. Where today we got a couple things to go over. First, we're going to be breaking down this last preseason game against the Denver Broncos. Then we'll be hopping into all the cuts, the trades, everything that the Saints have been up to, man. As you know, now we officially know their 53-man roster. What's up, Connor? How you doing? So let's hop in. But before we do that, we obviously got to start how we always start. That even though the Saints didn't win a single preseason game, they technically finished with a better record than the failed cons. Because why?
Because they are ties in preseason. Oh, no, wait. Because the Atlanta Falcons still suck.
Yeah, bro. They still suck, man. They can't do nothing right now, even in the preseason. At least we didn't lose all three of our games. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, first quarter, Broncos won 3-0. Second quarter, Broncos won 13-3. Third quarter, Broncos won 6-0. Fourth quarter, Saints won 10-6. Broncos win 28-19. Saints finished with a record of 0-2-1 in the preseason. It's just preseason, though. I'm not losing sleep over this. Broncos went 3-0 in the preseason. Good job, Tom Payne. Good job. You were able to beat a bunch of backups. Good job. But anyways, Saints, their leading passer on Saturday was Tyler Shuck, as he was 12 for 20, 102 yards. Their leading rusher was also Tyler Shuck. The second preseason game where a quarterback was our leading rusher. 2 carries for 20 yards and a touchdown, and your leading receiver was Kevin Austin Jr. with 3 receptions for 34 yards. And that, before I forget, the Saints also announced their starting quarterback, as it's going to be Spencer Rattler. How do you feel about that decision?
I think the right decision was to start Tyler Shuck, but I mean nobody separated themselves from the competition, so I guess they're gonna go with the more experienced guy. He's got one more year of experience. But I just would have, started all over with the young guy. Since I'm pretty sure you're going to have to go to him at some point this season. I don't think Spencer Rattler is going to start all 16 games, especially if we come out the gate and we lose a couple games. I think we'll see both quarterbacks play a lot this year.
Yeah, I think the reason that they did this is because, like, if you start Spencer Rattler and then you put in Tyler Shuck, I think that's easier than you going from Tyler Shuck to Spencer Rattler, because Tyler Shuck is your rookie, and Spencer Rattler, even though he's still young, he's been in the league for over a year now. So, yeah, I think it was the right decision, because you got to think about it this way too. If Tyler Shuck, right, if he gets benched, his confidence might dip, and we don't need that, especially since he's most likely to be the future quarterback for some people's eyes. But yeah, I'm not mad. I wasn't going to be mad if they chose Shuck or Rattler. I just want to see some football coming Sunday after next Sunday. And that reminds me, next week we start the triple header a week, bruh. Next week.
Yeah,
man, check out the. Don't worry, we'll still have our daily episodes, being 3 times a week. But check out the Hurricane Mike Show not this upcoming, but next Friday, where that's gonna be our first predictions episode. Don't miss it, man. Don't miss it. Yeah, next week we're only gonna do one of the triple headers because there's no game to recap. So, but don't worry. After the predictions episode, it'll be 3 times a week. I guarantee you that. But yeah, anyways, now let's move on. Broncos leading passer Sam Ellinger, 22 for 31, 108 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and he looked like Joe Montana in the process. Good job. The Broncos leading rusher was Audric Estime, who got cut. 8 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. And then the leading receiver was Cortland Sutton. 4 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. And the scoring summary in the first quarter, you started with Blake Grupe hitting a 56-yard field goal. Blake Grupe, hey, he's had a great preseason. 56-yard field goals ain't no gimmies, bro. Okay, we've seen some kickers shank 30-yard field goals. So the fact that he can go out there and make a 56-yard field goal is impressive. With 11:54 left in the first, he bangs. Well, I don't know if it was really a bank, but he banged a 56-yard field goal to go up 3-0. But then Will Lutz responded, former Saint, by the way, responded with 6:18 left in the first, hitting a 32-yard field goal to tie it up 3-3. Then you have Blake Grupe hit a 49-yard field goal with 2:39 left in the first, another pretty good kick, where the Saints went up 63. Then in the second quarter, the Broncos finally got into the end zone, being the first team to get into the end zone on Saturday, as Bo Nix, who started, threw a 19-yard touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton, followed by Will Lutz's kick to go up 10-6. And then Will Lutz hit a 29-yard field goal to go up 13-6. Blake Grupe responded with a 48-yard field goal to make it 13-9. But then the Broncos ended the half with Will Lutz hitting a 25-yard field goal. Pretty easy field goal. Well, it's not no field goal easy, but it's a chip shot, so you should make those if you're an NFL kicker. So the Broncos go up 16-9 at halftime. Then in the third quarter, we only had one score as Audric Estime scored a 5-yard touchdown run. However, Sam Ellinger tried to throw the ball in the 2-point conversion and failed to make it 22-9. Then in the fourth quarter, you had Tyler Shuck score an 11-yard touchdown run, followed by Charlie Smythe's kick to make it 22-16. And then Charlie Smythe hit a 52-yard field goal to make it 22-19. And then at the end of the game, you had Sam Ellinger turn into Joe Montana, throwing a 5-yard touchdown pass to Kyrus Rowan. However, they went for 2 point. They went for the 2-point conversion, and Sam Ellinger got sacked to end the game 28-19. Now let's dive into the guys and their performance. So let's start with the Saints. Tyler Shuck, 12 for 20, 102 yards. We had Jake Haener. We're going to talk about him in a little bit. Jake Haener, 5 for 9 for 37 yards, and Spencer Rattler, 5 for 8 for 43 yards. So, Dad, how do you think the quarterback play was on Saturday?
Well, like I said before, I don't think any of them really stood out as far as Shuck and Rattler goes. I mean, we all know Jake Haener was the third wheel. I mean, they said he was in this quarterback competition, but he was not. Stop telling that lie, y'all. Anyway, so yeah, I don't think anybody really separated themselves, even in this game, even though Shuck's numbers were what they were, he had more yards. He had more attempts as well. So, nobody really separated themselves in either of these games. Maybe Shuck had a little better first game, Rattler had a little better second game, and then third game pretty even. So a whole even race all off season between these two.
Kai the Great in the chat saying, my nephew Mike and brother Warren, what's good, fellas? What's good, Kai? Man, we're just breaking down the Broncos game, and then after this game, this is going to be a long episode, because after this game, we're going to break down every single guy to get cut. And trust me, there's a lot. So, yeah, stay tuned to after the episode. I don't know how long we're going to be talking about this game, but just stay tuned. That's all I got to tell you. But, yeah, I think the quarterback play was even. Like you said, Jake Haener, like I said, we're going to talk about him later in the episode. He's just not it. I ain't going to lie. When we drafted him, I thought he had potential. I thought maybe. He got Drew Brees comparisons, but it just took me to like a year or two later to realize that's an insult to Drew Brees. Because, bro, Jake Haener ain't nothing close to Drew Brees, man. Like, bro, maybe Pee Wee Drew Brees, maybe. But I was not watching Drew Brees back then. So maybe, just maybe. Like, I don't know. Maybe Drew Brees, if he was 75, then maybe you could have a conversation. But we're talking about the Drew Brees. No, no. Anyways, but yeah, now let's talk about this running game. Devin Neal. 5 carries for 20 yards. You know, he finally was able to touch the field as he missed the first 2 games with a hamstring injury, but he finally touched the field. 5 for 20 and 4 yards of carry. He had Tyler Shuck, 2 carries for 20 yards, 10 yards of carry, but did score the lone touchdown on Saturday with his legs. And Kendra Miller proved to be the number 2 running back in my eyes. 3 carries for 15 yards, 5 yards of carry. Cam Akers, another guy who we will talk about later. 2 carries for 5 yards, 2.5 yards of carry. You had Jay Kaner get 1 carry for 10 yards, 10 yards of carry. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 2 for 4. Velus Jones, 1 for 2, and Spencer Rattler just had a lone carry. Didn't get a yard, didn't lose a yard. So how do you feel like our running game did on Saturday?
Well, it's good to see Devin Neal get some run. You know, get in there for the first time, try to solidify his spot on this roster. And like you said, Kendra Miller proved to be the second running back in these preseason games in the training camp. And we haven't seen too much of Alvin Kamara, but we all know Alvin's going to be ready when the Cardinals come to town, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. You know, one of the worst teams in the league is going to be in the Dome in a couple weeks, man.
Don't say
Cardinals, man.
Don't say
Cardinals.
because if we come out the gate and lose, we're gonna. I'm gonna say on the
Yeah.
show. Didn't you say they were the worst team or one of the worst teams in the league, and we lost them right off the bat? So Cardinals might be all right this year. We'll see.
Yeah, I
We'll
was
see.
just
It might be all right.
joking. Yeah. All right. Jerry said, "Hey fellas, Connor, Kai, yep. Devin Neal is like another AK and Darren Sproles. Yeah, you know, I'm like, I don't know, maybe. I think Devin Neal definitely has potential. Um, yeah, he definitely does remind me a little bit of Kamara. You know, I think, you know, he honestly, I think he might be a faster version of Kamara because Kamara he's never really been a guy to really like beat you with the speed. He's kind of a guy that's like, I'm gonna let my blocks take care of the work and I can just jog all the way. Because I was watching a video of someone reacting to the Saints game and he was like, Alvin Kamara is the laziest player alive, but he's the laziest good player alive, and that's literally facts. Because you know the amount of times I've seen this man jog into the end zone, like there's not 500 guys chasing him.
It's not being lazy. It's just making it look too easy.
Yeah,
Really.
exactly. It's like, but it's like, bro, he acts like he doesn't try, but yet he's literally our number 1 rusher of all time. It's crazy, you know, it's crazy. There's this Spencer Rattler QB1. Yep, we did go over that, man. Spencer Rattler. Look, a lot of people are saying you're not it. A lot of people are saying that we made the wrong decision. I want you to go. I don't even want you to try to prove them wrong. I don't even want you to try to do that. I don't want you to. I don't want you to think about them. I want you to be the best version of yourself. Okay? Don't even think about what they're saying. AK not as fast. He just runs smooth. Yeah. So yeah, I think Devin Neal's like a faster version of Kamara. He's basically Kamara if Kamara ran fast. Basically, that's what Devin Neal is. And also if Kamara was like 10 years younger or not. So, well, not 10 years, but you know, I'm rounding up in this case. But anyways, all right. Now let's get to this receiving game. Kevin Austin Jr. was our number 1 receiver, 3 receptions for 34 yards. And like I said, we'll talk about all the guys to get cut after the show. Well, not after the show, but like after this game we talked about. And he's definitely one of the guys that did, you know. Chris Olave, 3 receptions for 29 yards. You know, had a better game than last week. Maliki Matavo, 3 for 23. Trayton Welch, 1 for 21. You had Rashid Shaheed, 2 for 14. Marcus Jarnes, 1 for 13. Jack Stoll, 1 for 12. Devin Neal got in on the receiving game as well, 2 for 10. Cedric Wilson Jr., 2 for 8. Seth Green, 1 for 5. Dante Pettis, 1 for 5. Cam Akers, 1 for 4. Mason Tipton, 1 for 4. So he didn't have the crazy game that he had the first 2 weeks, but still think he did pretty good this preseason. So how do you feel about the receivers?
Well, it was good to see Chris Olave come back. after that disappointing drop last week, and get a few more catches in there, get ready for the start of the season, and yeah, I like this receiving core. I think we're gonna be all right. I think it has some depth to it. They just gotta do it, bro. They gotta do it.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but remember when we were? Well, do you know about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift yet? Did it hit you?
Yeah. Gonna be talking about this stuff. Oh yeah, now. Oh my God, ain't it great? They engaged. When is the wedding? Oh man, miss me with all that.
Yeah, but I will say this though: Taylor Swift now has more rings than the Atlanta Falcons franchise.
Woo. So do I.
That's crazy. Yeah, so do you, man. That's crazy. Yeah, crazy. But yeah, man. Anyways, but yeah, I think the receiver. Yeah, I just it was just a good opportunity to brag on that. But yeah, I think the receivers did pretty good. Overall, like nobody did better than the others. I would say. Um, like they weren't really playing that much anyway, and we were running the ball a few extra times. And Jake Haener got in the game, and when Jake Haener gets in the game, nobody gets any receptions. So yeah, that's really why the receivers didn't really. So yeah, that's really why the receivers didn't do as good as they did in games past. But yeah. Anyways, now let's talk about this defense, man. Rajon Wright. Woo-hoo! Rajon Wright was even locking up the Broncos' offensive starters. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he was in when the starters were in. I could be wrong there, but I think he took Alontae Taylor's spot, not on the team. I'm not saying that, but I think he took his spot because Taylor didn't play in this game. Woo-hoo! Rajon Wright was balling, man. He was going crazy. 7 tackles, 2 assists. Jonas Sanker, another great preseason for him. 6 tackles, 3 assists. You had Isaac Adam, 3 tackles, 1 assist. Pete Werner, 3 tackles. Jordan Howden with 2 tackles, 3 assists. The rookie Quincy Riley, 2 tackles, 2 assists, and 1 interception. Jalen Ford, 2 tackles. Kool-Aid McKinstry, 2 tackles, and also lost his head during the game. There's one play where he looked like a chicken with his head cut off. But as long as that doesn't happen again, we'll be all right. Please. DeMarco Jackson, 1 tackle, 2 assists. Jaden Price, 1 tackle, 2 assists. Jasheem Davis, 1 tackle, 1 assist, and a sack. Vernon Brofton, 1 tackle, 1 assist. Isaiah Foskey, 1 tackle, 1 assist. You had Tyrone Powell get 1 tackle, 1 assist. Jonah Williams, 1 tackle, and a sack. Christian Boyd, 1 tackle, 1 sack. Carl Granderson, 1 tackle, and decided to murder somebody on the field, if you remember that play. Julian Blackman, 1 tackle. You had Chris Rumpf II get 1 tackle. Chase Young even got a tackle. Mario Davis, 1 tackle. Amari Thomas, 1 tackle. Devon Godchow, 1 tackle, and I feel like he's the most underrated pickup by the Saints this offseason. Elliot Davidson, or Davison without the D. Well, 2 Ds, I guess. There's no 2 Ds. 1 tackle. Jaden Peavy with 3 assists. Fadil Diggs, 1 assist. Jonathan Bullard, 2 assists. Isaiah Stallbird with 1 assist. You had Danny Stutzman, 2 assists. Or no, Bullard had 2 assists. I was looking at the wrong thing. Nathan Shepard, 1 assist. So, like the defense, how do you feel about it?
We're gonna see. I mean, there's so much mismatch guys out there, guys playing with guys that they're not gonna be playing with this season, so they couldn't really get in a rhythm, and they gave up some plays. Gave up way more points than you want to give up in a game. So we'll see. Hopefully, Brandon Staley brings this group together and, get these starters, playing at a high level, because I have a feeling that, some depth at some positions back there is going to be a little interesting this year.
Yeah, with our defense, I think our defense had a nice game against Denver. Rajon Wright, like I mentioned, was locking down everybody. Jonas Sanker was a hard hitter. Pete Werner did his thing. Jordan Howden had, what in the world? Shut up. Jordan Howden had a little bit of an underrated preseason. Coy McKinstry, other than that one play in the first quarter where Cortland Sutton turned this dude into a burnt brisket. Other than that, he had a solid outing. But yeah, so I think our defense, if our defense plays to its full potential, I think we could have at least a top 15 defense if they play with our full potential. Because we got to remember, most of these guys aren't even on the team right now as we speak. Anyways, moving on to the special teams. Kick returns. We have 5 guys return to football. Jaden Price, 2 for 55. Velus Jones Jr., 1 for 39. Dante Pettis, 1 for 20. Roderick Daniels Jr., 1 for 16. And Moochie Dixon, 1 for 16. Punt returns, Dante Pettis, 1 for 9. And then kicking the football, Blake Gruby, 3 for 3, 100%. Longest was a 56-yarder and scored 9 points. And Charlie Smythe, 1 for 1, 100%. His longest was a 52 and scored 4 points. And Kai Kroger punted the ball, where he had 1 punt for 38 yards a punt, and 1 side of the 20 inside of the Caesars Superdome. So how do you feel like the Saints special teams unit did on Saturday?
Did pretty good, especially kicking those field goals. Our guy Blake Grupe can kick those 56-yarders like they're routine now. I mean, a lot of kickers can now. But as far as punt return and kick return, I don't even know if we're set at who's going to do that job this year. Is it going to be Shaheed doing those jobs, or are we saving him just for on offense and let Pettit or one of the other guys take? I don't know. So that's something they're gonna have to work out in the next week or so.
Yeah, I mean, some of these guys that return kicks aren't even on the team now, so clearly they didn't like something about some of those kick returns, I guess. So. But anyways, yeah, I think the special teams did all right. All right, Broncos. Let's see how they did against our offense or our defense, and then we're going to talk about what they did on our offense. Okay, Sam Ehlinger was the best quarterback on Saturday, statistic wise, throwing for 22 for 31, 198 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And Bo Nix was 10 for 14, 110 yards, 1 touchdown. How do you feel like the 2 Broncos quarterbacks did against our defense?
You remember Sam Ellington, boy?
Sam Ehlinger? Yeah, I remember Joe Montana.
It was Joe Montana against LSU, it looked like. But, yeah, I mean, Bo Nix is the guy there, and he's going to be good. He looked like he was, having his way a little bit with our secondary in the first half. But, yeah, he's going to be good. The Broncos are going to be all right. They're going to push for a playoff spot this year.
I think they'll be on the bubble. I think the AFC got a little bit better, so I think they'll be on the bubble. But we'll see. I think they could make a push for it, but I don't know if they're going to get in this year. They got in last year, but last year is a different year, so let's just say that. But yeah, I think the quarterback play that you got, if you're a Broncos fan, I think you should be happy with what you saw from Bo Nix and Sam Ehlinger. Apparently Jesus is already here with Sam Ehlinger because I don't know what that man thought he was in that fourth quarter. Bro, that one pass, bro. If y'all know, y'all know. But anyways, let's talk about this running game. Audric Estime, 8 carries for 45 yards and the touchdown. Sam Ehlinger, 6 for 25. Tyler Batty, 4 for 14. Blake Watson, 4 for 13. RJ Harvey, 3 for 4. Adam Prentice, former Saint, by the way, 1 for 2. And Marvin Mims Jr. just had 1 carry. So, how do you feel about the Broncos' rushing attack?
Broncos rushing attack. I'm trying to bring up the numbers here. I don't know what's going on my phone right now. Yeah, it did pretty good, rushing over 100 yards. Anytime you rush over 100 yards, you did a good job. And scored 1 touchdown, Mr. Estime. How you say his name?
Estime.
Yeah. Did he get cut today?
He did.
I don't know this guy's name, but apparently he's gonna have a job, somewhere else maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe somewhere, But yeah. Yeah, I think the running attack did pretty well against us. I think the Saints' defensive line did do a good job stopping the run early in the game, but then later on, the Broncos finally got into a rhythm. But I do like how our defensive line did match up against the run because last week we couldn't stop the run if our lives depended on it. This week our run defense did okay. I'm not mad at it. Now let's talk about these receivers. Cortland Sutton, 4 for 83 and a touchdown. Lucas Kroll, former Saint by the way, 3 for 49. Kyrese White, 4 for 33 and a touchdown. Tyler Batty, 4 for 31. Caleb Loyner, 1 for 23. Courtney Jackson, 1 for 20. Jerhan Newton, 3 for 19. Pat Bryant, 2 for 19. Blake Watson was 3 for 9. Audric Estime, 1 for 8. Michael Bandy, 2 for 6. Troy Franklin, 2 for 5. Adam Troutman, 1 for 2, former Saint, by the way. And RJ Harvey, 1 for 1. So how do you feel the Broncos receivers did against the Saints?
Did A.T. Perry get cut today?
A.T. Perry, did he? I don't know. I'm about to hold up. Thankfully, Google exists now. So let me see.
I see he didn't record a catch, but he was targeted one time, so he did play in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember because I was like, oh, shoot, that's A.T. Perry? But yeah. Hold up. Let me see. Did A.T. Perry get cut? Yeah, the Broncos waived A.T. Perry.
Wow. I was about to say.
Wait, hold on. What's today's date? Hold up. They actually did that 2 days ago.
Oh, really? Right after the game, I guess.
Yeah, they did it on Sunday because it says the 24th and it's the 26th right now. So he didn't even make it to the following day.
All right. So I was gonna say definitely Lucas Kroll, Troutman, and A.T. Perry's not gonna get cut because they former Saints, boy. But no, A.T. Perry got cut. Yes. I don't know what's up with that because A.T. Perry, I was high on him. I thought he was pretty good when he was coming out. Made some big plays in that Giants game that you and I went to. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
That was a big play that he made in there. But yeah, so the big guy over here is Cortland Sutton. We know he's not getting cut. So he's gonna be their number one receiver. And yeah, they're gonna look good this year. They look good.
Yeah, but A.T. Perry, I remember watching him, and I remember when the Saints cut him, I was like, the only way I could justify this is if you're trading for Devontae Adams. Okay, because at that time there was rumors about Devontae Adams maybe wanting to reunite with Derek Carr, and how A.T. Perry wore number 17, so now you're cutting the receiver that wore 17 to get Devontae Adams, and I was like, okay, if we get Devontae Adams, I can kind of justify it, but he ended up going to the freaking Jets over us. So it's like why, why A.T. Perry? Bro, out of all the guys you got to cut, it was A.T. Perry. What? But yeah, anyways, bro, not only did he fall to the 6th round for some odd reason, but then you cut him. What? A.T. Perry was one of our best receivers in 2023. But no, apparently that's not good enough for Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen still pisses me off even when he's not even here. Anyways, now let's talk about the Broncos defense. Joshua Pickett, 4 tackles. Talanoa Hufanga got 3 tackles. Kareem Reed, 3 tackles. Lavelle Bailey, 2 tackles, 2 assists. Ioma Uwazurike, 2 tackles, 2 assists, and a sack. Jaden Robinson, 2 tackles. Delaren Turner-Yell, 2 tackles. PJ Locke, 2 tackles. Jordan Turner, 2 tackles. Quandarius Robinson, 1 tackle, 1 assist, and a sack. Sam Franklin Jr., 1 tackle, 2 assists. Devon Key, 1 tackle. Jonathan Cooper, 1 tackle, 1 assist, and a sack. Jonah Ellis, which, fun fact, he's actually Caden Ellis' brother, who's a former Saint. 1 tackle, 1 assist. Patrick Surtain II, 1 tackle, 1 assist. Savon Jones, 1 tackle, and a sack. Michael Dawumafor, 1 tackle. What are these names? Chris Abrams-Drain, 1 tackle. Man, I thought the Saints players had crazy names. So good. At least I can pronounce their names. Jahdae Barron, 1 tackle. Jaquan McMillan, 1 tackle. Damari Mathis, 1 tackle. Let's see down here. Dondria Tillman, 1 assist. Brandon Jones, 1 assist. Malcolm Roach, former Saint, by the way, 1 assist. J.L. Skinner, oh no, he didn't do nothing. Garrett Nelson, 1 assist. And Jordan Jackson, 1 assist. See, he also former Saint? I don't even remember. How do you feel about the Broncos' defense against the Saints, against the best offense of all time, the New Orleans Saints offense?
The best offense of all time only scored 19 points. So I guess the Denver defense is the best defense of all time. Anytime you have a team score under 20 points, you did pretty good as a unit. So, I mean, that's all we can go with, really. It's the third game of preseason. You don't know a lot of these names that are playing, but you do know they came to play. They was definitely trying to impress. Got a team to 19 or fewer points. Did pretty good.
Yeah, their defense did all right. Tyler Shuck definitely, was able. I do like Kellen Moore's decision on the touchdown run where it was an RPO. I hope we can see more if Tyler Shuck does hit the field this season. I would like to see some more RPOs out of that. I think he's one of the best RPO quarterbacks from what I've seen. I think he can definitely do an RPO better than Spencer Rattler can. I think that's one of Tyler Shuck's biggest strengths with that RPO run. Anyways, that was all about the Broncos special teams. Let's see. So on their kick return game, Courtney Jackson 3 for 59, Tyler Batty 2 for 72, and Blake Watson 1 for 18. And they didn't have any punt returns, but Will Lutz on kicking the ball, he was 3 for 3, 100%, longest being a 32-yarder, and scored 10 points. Former Saint, by the way. And punting, Jeremy Kershaw, 1 for 42 yards. I mean, that's an elite name, bro. Kershaw. But yeah, 1 for 42. So how do you feel like the Broncos special teams did?
Well, we know Will Lutz don't have to worry about being cut. And
Yeah.
those other guys, the kick return guys, I don't really know these guys. And, they didn't do anything to really impress. So I don't know if these guys or any of them are they regular returners or if they was holding somebody out. But that's something that, Sean Payton got to deal with. I don't.
Yeah. Man, Sean Payton, one thing that he's not good at is 2-point conversions. Because I don't know if you remember, but when he was with the Saints, there was like, I think, 5 or 6 straight times where the Saints would go for 2 and they didn't get it. It's like, bro. I understand sometimes you have to go for 2, but at that point, bro, I think you kick the extra point at that point. But yeah. I remember that 49ers game back in 2019 where he just went for 2 for no damn reason. like the Saints scored a touchdown to go up 13-7, and then he went for 2 for some odd reason. It's like, whatever. But yeah. Anyways, let's talk about these stats. So the Saints picked up 236 total yards, 160 passing, 76 rushing, 4.1 yards per play, 16 first downs, 5 for 13 on third downs, 0 for 2 on fourth downs. Gotta get better at that, Kellen Moore. Gotta get better at that. 58 total plays, 4 sacks allowed, 1 punt, 3 penalties for 40 yards, 1 fumble loss, which was Tyler Shuck, because I remember Quincy Riley got the interception, and like 3 plays later, Tyler Shuck fumbles the ball. Like, it wasn't really on Shuck, but like, you can't be doing that, especially, that's probably what lost him the job, to be honest with you. Saints had the ball for 23 minutes and 9 seconds. Denver Broncos, 396 total yards, 293 passing, 103 rushing, 5.3 yards per play, 22 first downs, 7 for 16 on third downs, 3 for 4 on fourth downs, 75 total plays, 3 sacks allowed, 1 punt, 6 penalties for 35 yards, 1 interception thrown, and had the ball for 36 minutes and 51 seconds. So that's the stats to round it up. So, Dad, before we get into the cuts, what was the main thing from the game against the Broncos?
The main thing is the Saints under Kellen Moore have to run the ball better. I mean, Kellen Moore comes from Philadelphia, where they were running the ball all over people last year. So we have to do better than 70 some odd yards, a game, rushing the ball. Got to be over that 100-yard mark like the Broncos were this week. And, so that's the main thing for me.
Yeah, just gotta get better at that. But anyways, we're gonna go position by position now. Well, the main thing for me is them cuts, man, because a lot of people lost their jobs after Saturday. So we're gonna go position by position, and we're gonna say if anybody was cut or who was kept. So at quarterback, obviously, Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck, obviously both made the team. But hallelujah, Jay Kaner is finally out of here. Look, I have nothing against Jay Kaner as a person. I don't care what he does outside of football. But as a football fan, he was awful. Like, he was literally Ian Book 2.0. A late draft pick that a lot of people thought had some potential, but he started one game, and that game was terrible. At least Ian Book didn't get benched, though. But to be fair, we had nobody to bench him for because everybody had COVID. But anyway, but yeah. So how do you feel about them? How do you feel about them waving that boy Jay Kane?
Well, I mean, we kind of expected it. I thought that they might keep three quarterbacks depending on how the rest of the roster looks. They may even bring them back on the practice squad. That's yet to be seen. But yeah. So we have Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler, a whole 3 years combined. Well, not really 3 years, 2 years really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young guy. I mean, a couple young guys in our quarterback room. So maybe they're looking at bringing in a veteran. Somebody like a Tyler Hundley or somebody like that. We'll have to see who got cut today. But
Tommy
that
DeVito got cut.
Tommy DeVito can stay far away from my team as possible. Him and Danny DeVito. I mean, they can stay far away from us.
What's wrong with Danny?
He used to be good back in the day. When he played the Penguin and Batman. He's pretty good in that one. And I like him in Twins. You did good there, Danny. You did good, but you're not a good quarterback, and your brother Tommy is not a good quarterback either.
Okay. Anthony. Anthony Z's in the chat saying, what's up, Anthony? How you doing, my brother?
Anthony, is that Anthony Richardson in here?
No, because Richardson does not start with a Z. So yeah. But anyways, let's talk about these running backs. Which actually kind of surprised me a little bit. They kept Alvin Kamara, Kendra Miller, Mills Jones, and Devin Neal. Um, Before we get to that, uh, Jake can always apply for State Farm. Kai just said Jake can always apply for State Farm. I mean, you ain't wrong. Shoot, I mean, State Farm could use another commercial and stuff. So, but yeah, Anthony said just chilling. You said that. Are you just chilling? Or
I'm just chilling, looking at these cuts, bro, and I don't know what's so surprising about the running back. I want you to explain why you were surprised at somebody got cut out of the running back room today.
I'm shocked that they kept Velus Jones over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I feel like Clyde Edwards-Helaire did pretty good in the preseason. And they also released Cam Akers, which Cam Akers had like a post on Twitter or whatnot saying how the NFL's a crazy place. No, the only thing that was crazy is how Jamal Williams did better than you in the preseason when he was here last year. And if y'all remember Jamal Williams, that boy couldn't buy a yard if he wanted to, man. That's crazy. So the fact that you did worse than that in the preseason, oh no. And then we also waived Marcus Yarn. So how do you feel about the running backs? We kept 4 and basically cut 3. So how do you feel about the running backs now?
Well, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the only one that makes you the only one worth talking about. And I told you this on multiple shows, like, we don't know how really healthy he is because he hasn't really looked like the old Clyde Edwards-Helaire since he had that injury in Kansas City. So, I mean, he's shown some signs here or there. I don't think he's really shown it yet with the Saints. But, yeah, so they decided to go in a different direction. Maybe Velus Jones Jr. is a little bit younger. I'm not really familiar with his background. But Devin Neal, a rookie, has a bright future. Can't wait to see him play a little more. And, yeah, so Edwards-Helaire, he's going to catch on somewhere.
Yeah, probably, maybe. No, Yeah. Now the wide receiver department, they decided to keep 6 and cut the remaining 4. Obviously, Chris Olave, we knew was going to make it. Shaheed, we knew was going to make it. Brandon Cooks, I ain't going to lie, was a little iffy for me, but he was pretty much on the team. Cedric Wilson Jr. was one of those guys that was competing for that last spot. He made it. Mason Tipton made it. And Devon Vele made it, who we traded for like right before the Broncos game. So, Dad, I have a question. Who are we going to trade with the Cardinals next week?
Who are we going to trade with them?
Who are we trading to the Cardinals next week, in your opinion? Or are we getting somebody from the Cardinals? Because apparently the Saints made a mission that if they're playing somebody that week, they got to make a trade. Apparently.
I don't know. Hopefully nobody, because there ain't nobody over there I want.
But my thing is, don't you find it odd? We play the Jaguars, a few hours later, we trade Colin Thomas to them. And then we got the Broncos coming up, and then we make a trade with the Broncos. Like, it's just crazy to me. I don't know if y'all actually thought about it, but yeah, we kept Mason Tipton and Devon Vele, as the last 2 receivers on the team, and we waived Kevin Austin Jr., Dante Pettis, Moochie Dixon, and Roger Daniels. I'm actually, I'm not shocked that they got rid of Dante Pettis, but I would have at least waived them and tried to get him back in the practice squad personally, because I feel like Dante Pettis is pretty good. Him and Spencer Rattler, I feel like had probably the best connection in the preseason. Rattler really loved throwing the ball to Dante Pettis, and now since he's your starting quarterback, I would be like, okay, maybe keep him. But then, I guess you could have kept 7 receivers if you wanted to, but I guess it makes sense to keep 6. So how do you feel about the 6 that we kept and the 4 that we packed bags with?
What about Kevin Austin Jr.? It looked like he had a good connection with Tyler Sharp for at least that one game. He came out, got 3 or 4 catches real quick, just like you were saying about the Pettis and Rattler. But I like this. I like this group. Cedric Wilson Jr. And Brandon Cooks. I hear what you're saying about Brandon Cooks. Like, maybe they might have thought, okay, he's been a veteran. He's been around, 8-10 years now. So, we're going to let him go. But, no, I think they were just stashing him, not playing him a whole lot because they know they want to use him in a specific role with this team. So, I'm not surprised by that, at the end of the day. So I like this group. Mason Big Play Tipton, he definitely played his way on this team. So I like to see his development continue.
Yeah, look, the Saints, they know how to find hidden gem undrafted receivers. Because if you ask a random casual, what round do you think Rashid Shaheed went in? They'll probably be like maybe the 3rd, maybe the 4th. Nah, that man went undrafted. So if Mason Tipton works out like that, because a lot of people forget Rashid Shaheed was not drafted. He was undrafted. And the Saints picked him up. A lot of people may forget about that. So if we can get that same production on Mason Tipton, I think our receiving room will be good for years to come. I think Shaheed might be on his last year of his deal. I could be wrong there, but I think he's entering his last year, so we definitely got to get that done. And I know Olave, he's on his 5th-year option. So yeah. Tight ends, the Saints decided to keep 3 technically. They kept Juwan Johnson, Jack Stoll, Maliki Madavo, the 7th-round pick. They moved Foster Moreau to the PUP list, and they moved Taysom Hill to the PUP list, and they decided to waive Trayden Welch, Michael Jacobson, and Seth Green. So how do you feel about the 3 tight ends that we technically kept, the 2 on the PUP and 3 waived?
I was a little bit surprised that they waived Welch. It looked like they liked him a lot because he was playing a lot, and he made a couple plays. But they decided to keep these 3, and they also have, like you said, Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill stashed on the PUP list. So when they come back, it could be a pretty good group.
Yeah, I would have, if I was Kyle Moore, I would have been like, okay, I'm going to waive Madavo and keep Welch. Because Welch was more impressive than Maliki was. So I'm sorry. I understand you invested a 7th-round pick in Malik Madavo, but it's not like this man was a 3rd-round pick. Like, man, waive that. You waived Fadil Diggs, and he's a 7th-round pick. So what's the point of keeping Malik? Like, Malik Madavo may have caught, 3 passes the entire preseason? And I understand maybe Welch did as well, but, Welch, in my eyes, played more impressive than that. So, yeah. Now let's talk about the 9 offensive linemen that they kept and the rest that they were like, bye-bye. Obviously, you keep Kelvin Banks Jr. at left tackle, left guard Trevor Penning, center Eric McCoy, right guard Cesar Ruiz, right tackle Felice Fuaga. That's your starting 5, so obviously you keep them. Then they kept 4 backups. Well, they kept 3 backups, and then they brought in somebody via trade. They kept Dylan Redunds on the team, Luke Fortner, who they traded for a week ago. They kept Torrey C. Simpkins III, and then they made a trade with the Dallas Cowboys, acquiring Asim Richards. Now, the rest of the guys, they placed Landon Young on injured reserve. They waived Kyle Hergel, Josiah Ezeram, Shane Lemieux, Mike Panowska. I don't know. They placed Barry Wesley on IR, but also designated to return. So, yeah, they waived Easton Kitty and they waived Jonathan Mendoza. So, how do you feel about this offensive line that they kept? 9 guys. Well, they kept 8 guys and brought someone in. So, how do you feel about that?
I'm surprised that they let Lemieux go. He had some good experience. And then Kitty, that wasn't that guy in the first game that came in for Will Clapp and blocked those 2 guys on that one play. Was that Kitty?
No, that was Simpkins.
Oh, okay. Simpkins made the. Okay, no, we're good then.
Yeah.
I thought they waived their own guy. I was like, man, he was impressive that game, but no, Simpkins. Okay, you're right. Now I remember the name.
Yeah, I know Simpkins came in for Will Clapp, so yeah. But anyways, now let's talk about these edge rushes that they kept. Well, first I'm gonna give my take on the offensive line. I think you had to do this. Kyle Hergel, he's just been up and down. Josiah Ezeram, 7th round pick a year ago, but he hasn't done anything. Shane Lemieux, I mean maybe a keep, but they did trade for somebody, so I guess they want to see what he has, and then they waived a few other guys. So yeah. Edge rushes. They kept 4, and then they released someone that I'm disappointed in. And we're gonna definitely talk about him, and I might go on a little rant. They kept 4 edge rushes: Chase Young, Carl Granderson, your boy Cameron Jordan, and Chris Rump II. Which I'm glad they kept Chris because I think he definitely proved himself. However, they released Isaiah Foskey, who's obviously the main guy, and we're gonna be talking about him after I get done with these names as well. Jeremiah Martin, Fadil Diggs, who got away, which I was surprised by. I think Fadil Diggs did pretty good in the preseason, but okay. And then they waived Jasheem Davis, who I think also did good in the preseason. But these 3 can wait. Isaiah Foskey, Dad, do you remember when the Saints drafted Foskey a couple years ago?
Yep, out of Notre Dame.
Bro, I was like, this man. I thought this man had a 1st-round talent. That's how high I thought this was. And before y'all call me crazy, it's like, what was I supposed to think? He literally was Notre Dame's all-time sack leader. He literally blocked like 4 punts in like 1 year or 2 years or however he was there for. It's like, bro, I'm looking at like you couldn't tell me Isaiah Foskey was going to turn out the way he did. I couldn't even bet you that was going to happen. When the Saints drafted him in the 2nd round, I'm like, oh, that was a steal. But just for him to disappoint me like this, Isaiah Foskey, you should be ashamed of yourself. But anyways, how do you feel about these edge rushes now?
Well, Isaiah Foskey, that's the big name that's going bye-bye right now. But, like you said, he did what he did in college, and it just never produced on the NFL level. Not yet. I mean, he's still kind of young. He still can come back on the practice squad. He still can get picked up by another team. And,
we'll release them, so
maybe he needs a fresh start. Maybe he needs a new system. Somebody that uses him in a specific way. I don't know. But it just wasn't here, and I guess Brandon Staley didn't see him fitting in here.
Bro, Foskey disappointed the heck out of me, bro. He looked like a Dennis Allen guy, to be honest. Like, look, you can give all the flack to Dennis Allen you want, and trust me, he does deserve it. But he does know how to scout edge rushers or whatnot. He does know how to do it. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, Foskey, when the road was that? But I'm like, Foskey, he's one of them ones. But here we are, what, 2 years later? 2 years later. And he's not even on an NFL team. Disappointed me, man. I expected high. I expected high from you, Foskey, and I'm not afraid to admit when I was wrong. And boy, I was, bro. I was so wrong to the point where it makes the dumbest person of all time look smart. That's how wrong. That's how wrong I was. Anyways, let's talk about these defensive tackles as they kept 6 on the team. Jonathan Bullard, Devon Godchild, Brian Brzee, Nathan Shepard, Christian Boyd, and Vernon Brofton. And they waived 2 guys, cut 1, and 1 went on IR. Amari Thomas was waived, Jonah Williams was released, Jaden Peavy was waived, and John Ridgway III was placed on IR with a designated to return. So, how do you feel about the 6 we kept and the 4 that went?
I'm not surprised by these names that they kept, but I'm surprised that they kept 6. I mean, we heard all season about Brandon Staley putting in this new defense. It's going to be a 3-4, meaning they're going to use more linebackers than defensive linemen. But so I'm guessing they see a role for a few of these guys, maybe on special teams or whatnot. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, I was actually shocked some of these guys mid-team. Well, not really. I mean, I think Bullard was probably the guy that I thought was going to be the odd man out. Well, I actually had him making the team, but I thought it was going to be to the nail. It was either him or Williams. No, not Williams. What's his name? I don't fucking know. But I know he was definitely up there, but they kept him. So he has experience playing with Brandon Staley or in Brandon Staley's system before, so just have to see. Now in the linebacker department, they decided to keep 5 guys, and they went ahead and cut 3. Okay, so the 5 that they kept in the linebacker department, they kept Demario Davis. Obviously, he was a no-brainer. P. Werner was a no-brainer. Jalen Ford, in my opinion, was a no-brainer. Isaiah Stallbert that was a questionable decision I had. He definitely played good in the preseason, but you picked him over Nefiah Sewell, which I don't agree with, though. And obviously, Danny Stutzman was a no-brainer. But yeah, like I said, you waived Nefiah Sewell, DeMarco Jackson, and Tyrone Powell. So how do you feel about the 5 linebackers the Saints opted to keep?
I was surprised to hear DeMarco Jackson on that list because it seemed like he's been a very productive player the last couple of years, especially on special teams. And he made some special teams plays. He filled in for some, had injuries. So yeah, I was surprised to hear that player.
Yeah. Like, I think, DeMarco Jackson, though, it's like, with him, I mean, who is he really going to beat out? Like, DeMario, no. Pete, no. Ford, no. Stutzman, no. And I think, like I said, Nefiah Sewell was probably the odd man out there. So I don't think there was really someone that DeMarco could have beat out for, like, the 5th linebacker spot, in my eyes. But, yeah, cornerbacks. We kept 5 corners on the team as well. And, hey, there's still some good options out there, so maybe the Saints add another corner or 2, man. And, the Saints, obviously, the 5 corners that they kept, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Alante Taylor, Isaac Adam, Rajon Wright, and Quincy Riley. And 3 that they got rid of, Rico Payton was waived/injured. Dales Beanham was waived but is expected to return to the practice squad, and Jaden Price was waived. So, Dad, remember when we were making our predictions on who's getting cut or not? And you said you don't want to keep saying Rajon Wright's name every Sunday. Well, too bad. How do you feel about the 5 corners that the Saints are keeping?
You didn't say Ugo Amadi. Is he a safety?
He is indeed a safety.
Because they have him listed here as a cornerback making the team.
Well, he's a safety slash corner. It depends on what website you use.
I got you. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, these were the right players to keep, in my opinion. I'd like to see, more production from them, like, Kool-Aid be that number one stop guy, that shutdown corner that we lost with Lattimore. But, and Alontae Taylor, step up and do what he's been doing. And then you got a couple young guys that need to step up this year. They're going to be counted on, need to step up.
Yeah, like we definitely have a lot of young positions, which is another example. Why does everybody keep saying the Saints are an old football team? We basically, other than DeMario and Cam and Kamara, we have a young team. We have young corners, young quarterbacks, young receivers, young running backs other than Kamara. It's like, what are you getting this old from? Old. What the heck are you looking at?
And Brandon Cook.
Yeah, boo-hoo. Yeah, Brandon Cook. Yeah. But it's like, bro, the Saints are not an old. In fact, they probably are one of the youngest teams in the league. Like, probably not the youngest, or even the second youngest, or the third youngest, or even the fourth youngest, but they're definitely probably either top 10 or top 13 at the least youngest teams. Like, okay, we got 3 or 4 older veterans on the team. So what? You got teams where they're in top. You got the Rams. It feels like every position on the Rams have some old players on. You don't see nobody calling them old. Nah, miss me with that crap, bro. We're one of the youngest teams in football. A couple years ago, okay, maybe I had an argument for calling us an old team, but nah, bro. Brian Brzez's young. Chase Young, no pun intended, is literally young. Like, bro, and safeties. Justin Reed, he's getting a little bit up there in age, but he's still relatively young. As now, let's move on to the safeties. We kept 6 safeties. Justin Reed, Julian Blackman, Jordan Howden, JT Gray, Ugo Amadi, Jonas Anker. Because for some reason we need to have 5 safeties with the first name starting with the letter J. I don't know why that's a quota, but it's like you got Justin, Julian, Jordan, JT, and Jonas. So that's funny. But yeah, and then also Ugo Amadi just slides in there. And then you released Terrell Burgess and Elliot Davison. Well, you waived Elliot Davison. So, how do you feel about the 6 safeties that we kept and the 2 that?
Well, you definitely cut those 2 because they don't have the letter J in their first name. But
they don't, bro.
Anyway, yeah, Justin Reed, Julian Blackman is our guys to start, and Jordan Howden has some good experience now, and JT Gray, of course, he's a special teams ace. You definitely want him around. And Jonas Sanctor made some big plays this preseason. Remember that interception at the end of the Chargers game?
Jaguars, but also
Jaguars. That's it.
But also, don't forget, Rajon Wright was just as responsible as Jonas Sanctor was for that interception. Don't forget it, man.
That's true.
Because if you remember, Rajon Wright, if he doesn't, I'm sorry, but if Rajon Wright doesn't tip that ball, Cam Little hits another 70-yard field goal on us.
They were waiting on it. They're like, all we have to do is complete this pass, and we have another 70-yard kick.
Yeah, I think it would have been a little shorter than that, but it was definitely not been a gimme that's for sure. But yeah, and now let's talk about the specialists the Saints decided to keep. Their kicker that they kept was Blake Grupe. Their punter, which I was a little surprised by, but it was a punter battle. It was like our 4th straight year having a punter battle. Can we just find a freaking punter, please? Bro, you should not be having a punter battle every single year. It's a freaking punter. It's a punter. Find somebody to kick the ball right. Find somebody to do that. We haven't had a good punter since Blake Gillikin was here. But yeah, anyways, Blake Grupe is our kicker. Our punter is Kai Kroger, and our long snapper Zach Wood, with us waiving kicker Charlie Smythe and waiving punter James Byrne. So how do you feel about the special teamers for the New Orleans Saints?
I think Madden's going to have to change that punter on us. Don't we have Burnham?
Yeah, I still checked Matt earlier, and we still have Cam Akers and Clyde on the team. So like,
Yeah, that new update is probably today or tomorrow. Right after cut down day.
yeah, probably.
But anyway, yeah, Blake Groupies, our guy here, and we can only hope Kroger can. We hope that Kroger doesn't have to work too much this year. Put too much on punters, man. Just let him just ride the clock. Make his millions of dollars of sitting down. We don't need no punters this year because we're gonna go up and down the field on offense, right? Come on.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Man, because the worst team is going to be in the Superdome in a couple weeks, man. The Arizona Cardinals, they finna be bad, bro. They finna be bad. So
Don't say that.
not playing, but we need punters to just do their job. Just be a fan. Just be a cheerleader. I don't care. Just be like, yay, we scored. Now I get to go on the field and hold the ball for the kicker. Yay. But nah, bro. No, we don't need none of the. Don't need none of that, man. So yeah, I don't think the practice squad came out yet. I think we got waiting for teams to like get claimed or signed or whatnot. So yeah. So that do you have anything else? Anything at all?
I got nothing else but a big old fat who dat.
Yeah, you're gonna. All right, Dad. Where can they find you?
Find me on Mic'd Up Sports YouTube channel on Hurricane Mike Show. Maybe 1 or 2 times next week, but after that, 3 times, baby, 3 times a week.
Yeah. You can also find me at Hurricane Mike, Kyle Phelps, and Keeping Maru Who That's What's podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, turn the bell on so you don't miss another future upload. And before I get out of here, we got to shout out to people that popped up in today's show. Shout out to Connor. Shout out to the Nola Chop podcast, Kind of Great 84, Jerry G, and last but certainly not least, Anthony Z. And we're going to leave you as always with the Who Dat, and don't be a what?
Don't be a Falcons fan. 0-3. You know what that turns into? 0-17.
Yeah.